Welcome to The Agenda. My name is Abiodun Famujura. In today's episode of The Agenda, we shall be examining a critical subject, the meeting point, the convergence between the citizens and the organs of government and those who are leading them. I will be joined by a young man who is representing the Ofada ward of Bafemi Wode local government as their councillor, Honorable Adeola Abolaji. Welcome to The Agenda.
Thank you.
We go right into it. We're talking about the citizens effectively interacting with institutions. How can we do that?
Yeah, okay. Basically, the point of interaction with the institutions, which includes the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary, is still at the point of voting. And that's the most important point.
At the point of voting?
Yes, that's the most important point, because that's the foundation of everything. Like most of us know, most of the policies that have been enacted by the executive affect the citizens directly. The laws that have been postulated and reviewed affects the citizenry, and the judiciary is there to interpret the law that affects the citizenry as well. And the people that are there are citizens, and we elect the citizens. We put them there. They don't just come from heaven. So the point at which we interact with them first is at the point of selection, the point of voting, the point of putting them there. We say, okay, what do you have to do for us? What can you do for us? And this is what we want you to do for us. That's the first point. Once we can get that point correctly, and the people that are there know that we got here on the mandate of the people, not by selection by one godfather or by appointment of someone. Once they understand that we are here by the mandate of these people that can recall me at any time, because the Constitution and the Electoral Act allows you to recall legislators, allows the legislators to impeach the president, and allows the president to at least have some level of powers over who is heading the judiciary as well to a particular extent. Once all of these things are understood from the beginning, then we now move to the point of recall. We move to the point of summons, we move to the point of impeachment, and
judicial
panels and all of those things. Well, once we get it right at the level of selecting these people that would go and represent us at these institutions of government. If not, by the time they get there, there will be no point of interaction. So they are just there, and it just becomes a case of we versus you. It becomes a case of politicians against the citizenry. It becomes a case of, the white against the black. It becomes a case of the rich versus the poor. But once we can get it right at the point of selection of these people at the beginning, then we create a connect. Then there is a bridge. There's a line of communication, and we can say, okay, because I know how this person got there, I can still sustain that line of communication.
Honorable Adeola, allow me to backtrack from your first statement about the selection, the voting process. Shouldn't we be starting from the interrogatory process, whereby questions are, before we vote for you, shouldn't we get to know you? Because certain people come into the place of, they show up and they say, vote for me. And you say, who are you?
Exactly.
And they just say, vote for me.
Yeah.
Can you give us more light on that subject matter? Because how do I interact with someone that I do not even know existed until he or she comes into public office?
So when we want to address something like this, we would have to peel it like an onion. And until we get to the smallest indivisible unit. And what is the smallest indivisible unit? That's the unit of joining a political party. Because before anybody would say he wants to vie for a position, regardless of the value, regardless of the influence, regardless of the popularity that you are bringing to the table, you must come under a political party.
So are you establishing that should be the first meeting point?
That should be the first step.
Where you join a political party.
And at the level of the political party, everyone is seated under the house, under the tree, in the village square, and you know who can do this. You know who is who. But the moment you are not there, you are not present in those meetings, in those gatherings, what happens is those that pick for you just pick the devil or the deep blue sea. So you are left with whatever is being picked, and we just keep shouting on social media. And
let's talk about the picking.
Okay.
Because your words are they resonate in the picking. In recent times, we've discovered that the delegate system in the political parties has become a weapon. I don't want to characterize about the devil or anything, but it has become a deadly weapon that persons who do not have any meeting point with the true citizens are the ones empowered with the mandate to determine the persons who will be in these institutions. What is your recommendation or your thought process? Because the meeting point under the agenda, we're driving 3 processes: education, enlightenment, and empowerment. And someone out there is saying, look, I didn't vote for him. I did not even know him. Somebody voted on my behalf at the delegate system. What do we do about this?
I studied biochemistry at some point in my life, my first degree actually, and there's something we call the feedback inhibition process.
Feedback inhibition process.
The feedback inhibition process. So it's like a cycle that when a product has been gotten, that product catalyzes the reaction and it forms the reagent again, and that process goes round and round. Then you cannot bring anything external. All the external forces, the external compounds and all, they just look at the reaction and they just observe. So it's that process, it continues that way. And that's what happens in our political system in Nigeria. The process of selection of delegates. Because many people, especially those of us that are the electorates, or will I say those of us, all of us are
Are you also including the young people?
Yeah, the young, especially the demography of Nigeria now favors the younger generation. Most of us, the young people, let me use the word young people, we take a backseat when it comes to the grassroots and local politics. And these are the areas where these decisions are being made. These are the areas where the connections are being made. These are the areas where the bridges are being built. So when there's a meeting and there's a small local government or a small ward, and at least 3 delegates must come from a ward, at least 3 delegates from a ward, with respect to the political parties that we have now in Nigeria. The process of the selection of the delegates, some political parties and in some localities, they put it to a vote. It is not everywhere that it is by selection. They put it to a vote where they have so many competent people, where there is voter education, where they know that, we cannot cheat these people here. So they say, okay, they don't go through the INEC, but they don't say, okay, everybody in this unit meeting, because according to the hierarchy or according to the structure in Nigeria, the ward is the smallest unit. But in the political system, the polling unit is the smallest unit. So in a ward, you can have about 50 polling units. So in those polling units, the parties don't just do meetings at the level of the ward alone. They do meetings at the level of the polling units. So at the level of the polling units, they even select chairmen at the level of the polling units. So that's when you hear politicians say, I'm the owner of this polling unit. I know the people in this polling unit. So the process of the selection of the people at that level of polling units, INEC, the Electoral Act, is not even involved in this, is not even brought to fore in that process. So that is where they now pick the delegates from. And that is the smallest unit. On your street, 3 streets away, you have these processes going on there. And this is where they pick the delegates. And once you are not part of it, that process, you just keep looking at it from outside and you keep complaining. And that process keeps feeding itself until it gets to the highest level of government. So when the delegates are voting for House of Assembly, you are not amongst. So when the House of Assembly member has been elected, the person becomes an automatic delegate. So what then happens? By the time it becomes the season for the election, the primaries election for the president, it is the president that has been elected by constitution. Or the governor that has been elected by a normal constitution and all of those things, that would now also have the rights as a card-carrying member of the party to vote for whoever the president would be. And because we are not also part of the process, we now have a majority of this kind of legislators that were formed from this feedback inhibition process in the legislative arm of government. And when the president knows that, okay, these are the people that help me as well, they would have to do their bidding. And when the president now recommends someone to be the chief judge of the federation, go and take a bow in front of the legislative arm or anything, they won't even scrutinize the person. They'll be like, since the president has brought this person, we just go. Then, when we now have a case whereby the two arms of government, especially the judiciary and the executive, are not working in tandem, what happens? It still affects us. So such happened a few years back, it seems 2014 or 2015, when there was a delay in the passage of the budget. And that was the first time we started having the budget of a year coming up.
In the following year.
In the following year, which was a disaster. Why? Because there was no proper synchronization amongst the arms of government, which involved the executive and the judiciary.
Honorable Adeola giving us a fantastic schooling communication with regards to the meeting point and synergy. Let's talk about this synergy. Is there a clear synergy between the three arms of government? And before you answer this question, I need you to process it carefully, because we're going to take a short commercial break. And I mean, your guns are loaded and you've been blazing very well. I believe the audience are engaging us as well in their thought process. Wherever you are joining us, this is the agenda, examining the subject matter of the meeting point. We'll be back after this short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. It is still the agenda, and I have here with me Honorable Adeola Abolaji. Synergy between the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Is there a clear synergy?
Okay, three of them should run independently, but concurrently.
Okay.
Which means that they complement each other. There is the point at which there should be a synergy, should be for national development. That is the synergy.
National development should be the focus.
Development and advancement of the country. That's the synergy.
Is there a synergy?
Well, on paper, there's a synergy. On paper, there's a synergy, and there should be a synergy. But
in reality?
In reality, we
have work to do?
We have work to do.
Please expatiate.
We'll still go back to the roots. Because no matter how much you want to check the integrity of a building, you would have to check what the foundation is. And which is the systems are there, but people drive systems.
Yes.
Systems cannot drive themselves, no matter how perfect the system is. The system will not drive itself. So people drive systems. And if you don't put the right people at the helm of affairs of these systems, the system would have a collapse. Now, the system will not collapse in one day. It might not collapse in 2 years, but there will be a gradual collapse of the system. And once that happens, the major agenda, just like
our program
here, the major agenda would be tweaked from national development to national embarrassment, which is what we are having today. And to an extent, we are recovering. We are in recovery. To an extent. But the pathetic thing about the society we find ourselves, especially a democracy like ours in Nigeria, is when election is approaching, it's as if the goal and the roles of government is as if we shut it down. And we are May 29, who is coming in? What's the next thing that is going to happen? So all of the development that is meant to take place, that is already going through a very nice curve, and we are making some progress, all of a sudden, it stops. So now nobody's talking about some things that have been done in the National Assembly that's not right. Nobody's talking about it. Everybody's focused on 2023, the elections. Nobody's asking, where's the president?
Governance is abandoned.
Exactly. So nobody's asking, where's the president? Today, the president, we can hear that the president is in so-so place, but nobody's asking and saying, what is he doing? What's going on? The vice president is not feeling fine. Everybody goes, oh, okay, good luck to him. The Attorney General, no, is it the Attorney General of Federation now? Yes, should be Attorney General. He resigned or something.
One of the ministers.
Yeah, the Minister of Justice, at some point, he resigned a few weeks ago. And nobody's asking, nobody's saying, why did this guy resign? What happened? What led up to this? What led up to this point? In a sane democracy, there should be the Senate committee and the House committee in charge of judiciary and the matters regarding to the law should at least look into things like this. Because the moment we leave things to just happen, there's a gradual decay in the system. Is it a case of values? Is it a case of morals? Is it a case of corruption? Is it a case of his own standing? Is it a case of competence? Is it a case of health? What is the issue? Why is it that in an election
You were referring to the Chief Justice of
Yes,
Nigeria.
the Chief Justice. Yes. Why is that in an election year, in an election season, that the judiciary is needed so much, at least to interpret laws, to put checks and balances in so many things and dispute, and we have the Chief Justice of the Federation resigning for no reason or for some reasons
which came in an abrupt manner. I need to ask you a question, very important. You have the three arms of government. It's the meeting point we're talking about here, and the citizens are trying to determine, or the three arms of government try to create an hierarchical competition amongst themselves. I am dominant, I am superior. And then there's conflict of interest. What do you think? Is there an hierarchy? Is there one of these arms of government that is much more superior to the other? And the subject matter of conflict of interest, if there are any, how are they meant to be handled?
Okay, for any government to function, especially in a democracy, it must stand on a tripod. And no matter how much you want to say the leg 1, the leg 2, or leg 3 is important or less important, the moment you remove one, the tripod collapses.
It's no longer a tripod.
It's no longer a tripod. If you want to have it as a unipode, then there must be someone that should be holding it. That is when we have the monarchy system, where the monarchy holds the prime minister and all of that. But here, once you have a tripod, there is nobody that is less important than the other.
And no one that is more important.
We all work concurrently, because we make the laws, you enact the laws, you interpret the laws. You propose a budget, we look at the budget, you say, okay, it is okay to borrow from this person.
Budget is passed into
and the budget is passed into law. And there's a dispute with somebody. We have anger issues with this state government. The state government says we cannot fix this road. What does the Constitution say about trunk A roads? We go back to the legislative arm. The legislative arm is saying, my people said you must fix this road. We are not responsible for fixing this road. But if the moment we say one person is superior, what happens is that one person's judgment becomes final. So we don't have checks and balances anymore. But in a sane environment, we should have an executive that the legislative arm would always check. Not threatening them with impeachment.
But
they will check them. At every point, we should have a State of the Nation address. That, okay, the president, the vice president, or whoever would come and say, okay, this is the issue. This is what we are facing. It's easier then, rather than just keeping everybody in the blind side. So those things that are being addressed there, the legislators can then now cascade back when they get back home, when they go on recess, when they go to their legislative offices, when they have their town hall, when they have their town hall meetings in their constituencies, and then we can now liaise and say, okay, this is what they are saying about our road. This is what the federal government is doing about the education around here. This is the sovereign wealth fund allocation that has been given to us, and the governor. And all of those things, we can easily then dispense to people. But the moment we don't get the foundation right, which is we electing the wrong set of people there, nobody will owe you anybody. It is the person you put there that owes you anything. If you don't put someone, the person doesn't owe you.
But the question about putting someone there and owing, it has been argued, and it's a new communication, that the office of the citizen is the highest office in the nation. It appears to be more of semantics when the citizens adopt a sit-down-look approach or adopt a position to say, them, we, them against us. What do you think should happen such that the citizens, the meeting point, because if the electorate do not meet with the elected officials, then what are they going to do? What is your thought process about the citizens not being lackadaisical in approach? Because we're talking about conflict of interest, and we realize that oftentimes the brunt of the conflict of interest, when it happens, if it happens, the citizens will suffer. But what are the citizens doing to ensure that their engagement, their civic rights? For example, you're talking about an election year where some people made up their mind not to register to collect their permanent voter's card. What is your advice? There are a lot of young people, and I want you to speak to the demography of young people who are comfortable voting on reality TV programs as against voting in an election. This is education, enlightenment, and empowerment.
Okay.
Yes, the meeting point.
Well,
of the agenda.
the office of the citizen should be the highest office of
be.
the land. Should be. I should be able to walk into Aso Rock and say, I'm a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And even if I can't see the president, can I drop a message and I'll be sure that that message will get to the president? I should be able to put a call through to the vice president and say, okay, you cannot take this call right now. The secretary or whoever is there can take this call for me. And I should be able to get a response.
Or find a means of communication.
Or find a means to communicate. But the office of the citizen, or would I say the position of the citizen, has been put on not even a backseat, has been thrown out of the car.
He's not even in the car.
It's not even in the car anymore.
Of governance of nationhood. He's not even in the car.
It's not. And we deliberately remove the seatbelt. Because what is our seatbelt? Our voting power.
Hold that thought. I really hate to tell you to hold that thought right now. This is still the agenda. And we're looking at the meeting point, the convergence between the citizens and the institutions of government. I have here with me Honorable Adeola Abolaji. We're going to come back. Every intellectually stimulating conversation never has enough time. Talk to you soon. Welcome back. It is still the agenda, and we're looking at the subject of the meeting point. I firmly believe that you're not watching alone. If you have been, it is important that you get other people to join you. I am still with Honorable Adeola Abolaji. Thank you so much. Separation of powers. How effective is it in the Nigerian state? How profound is the application? The separation of power. Is there separation of powers in Nigeria? And is it effective?
Okay, to a very large extent, Nigeria is a country that is really driven by a lot of emotions.
Nigeria is a nation driven by a lot of emotions.
So we attach a lot of emotions to issues that the Constitution has already provided solutions for.
Please expatiate, elucidate, because we attach emotions to provisions of life, of governance and leadership that the Constitution has already
taken care of. Yes.
Examples.
Okay.
Because we have persons who are watching us. They like it, but they're asking, okay, example.
I don't want to, because this will cause a lot of
furor.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the issue of zoning. For instance. So far you're a Nigerian from any part of Nigeria.
And you're competent.
And you meet the criteria for any political office you are trying to vie for.
You should be able to aspire.
You should be able to aspire.
But that would throw up significant challenges, because now that appears to be a paradox. In the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, we have what we call the federal character system.
Yes.
The federal character system talks about disadvantaged positions and disadvantaged states. That does not promote competence.
So that is why when we now start electing ministers, when we start electing political appointees, the issue of the federal character that the Constitution makes provision for as well then comes in. That's why we then even have a federal character commission that makes sure that all the zones in Nigeria, all geopolitical zones in Nigeria, is well catered for.
Well represented.
Well represented. All of these things are there that the Constitution provides for. But a lot of emotions, many times, there's a lot of emotions that we bring into the governance in Nigeria. So when we now want to talk about separation of power, it's also cascades into that system as well.
Does it advance it or make it retrogressive?
It makes it retrogress, because many
You want to appoint a chief
So
judge?
because we want to appoint a chief judge, and because we say, oh, the Senate president is from this particular geopolitical zone,
This
the vice
person
president,
cannot be from
and
that.
this person that is competent, we cannot bring up that person to be the chief judge. We will now go and bring someone from somewhere that doesn't really have the confidence, but because he's the highest ranking person that is from that from that geopolitical zone or from that tribe that our emotion appeals to. What then happens? We now bring that person to that position.
So in essence, Honorable Adeola, are you not saying that we have sacrificed the authentic separation of powers on the altar of illogical, emotional discussion?
Yes. Yes.
All right. It has been the meeting point. And I would like Honorable Adeola to give us your parting word to all the young people that are watching, beyond being an election year, a year preceding an election and things. This is the agenda. Our intention is to craft the narrative, make the recommendation. Some persons are listening and they're saying, oh, I did not know this. Education, enlightenment, empowerment. And the greatest empowerment is the empowerment of the mind.
Yes.
What is your final parting shot for now on the agenda? What is your final word?
Okay, my final word is there is no position that you vie for or that you support or that you actively get involved in when it comes to the Federal Republic of Nigeria that is too small for you to make a difference. You might be in the judicial space, you might be a lawyer, you might be a barrister. I don't really know the
legal description.
And legal description, all of that. But at some point, it is possible for you as a lawyer now in a small law firm to become the Chief Justice of the Federation. It's possible for you to become an High Court judge. It's possible for you to become an Appeal Court judge at some point, and you'll be relevant and you'll be needed for election appeals. You'll be relevant for disputes in future. It is possible for you now that as a councillor, you become the senator representing your constituency. It is possible for you now that even as a local government chairman, you become the governor, you become the president at some point. It's possible for you now as a member of the House of Representatives to become a Senate president at some point, or the Speaker of the House of Representatives. So there is no position that is too small for you to vie for. And in saying that, we don't just fight for positions alone when it comes to being active in the political and matters of our country and the governance space. What we have to do is to also get involved, and that is where we can hold the people there accountable, because what you are not involved in, you cannot expect feedback from. It is only what you are involved with that you can get feedback from. If you give birth to a child, you can hold the child accountable for things that he did not do, but you cannot go and hold the child of your neighbor for things that he did not do or things that he has done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Adeola. You have heard it from a councillor, a young councillor representing a constituency in Nigeria. He represents the new Nigeria, speaking from the depth of his being. It has been the subject of the meeting point under the agenda. Wherever you are, understand this: you matter. Until you say to yourself that you do not matter, you matter. And please ensure that your matter is not anything that has weight and occupies space, but that which carries impact. Abiodun Famujura remains my name. This is the agenda. Please connect with us on all our various social media platforms displayed on the screen. We value your feedback. We value your engagement. The Nigeria of our dreams is a reality. Till I come your way next time, stay tuned to this platform, because our content is configured to make a difference in your life. Bye for now.